Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be completing the game with just the Swellow line. And this is a video that I had planned to do very early on, like right after the EVs were done, but I didn't actually get around to it, and the main reason for that is because I had messed up and thought that Port had a Shadow Taillow trainer, but they don't. It's just a trainer that has a Taillow. So, after many months, I'm here to finally get around to the Swellow video. So, Taillow has 40 HP, 55 attack, 30 defense, 30 special attack, 30 special defense, and 85 speed, and gets access to mostly normal and flying type moves, with not much else to really speak of. At least it has a decent attack stat and a really good speed stat for the early game, so we will be able to get through quite a bit of that pretty easily, as well as we get access to our 2 stab types very early on. So damage shouldn't be an issue. However, we don't take attacks too well, so as long as we can consistently outspeed and take them down in a single hit, it shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, our Taillow has a bashful nature, which doesn't do anything for it. It's a neutral nature, which is fine, I guess. It gets access to the Guts ability, which raises its attack by 50% when it's poisoned, burnt, or paralyzed, which is a really good ability. And according to Bulbapedia, it gets Peck, Growl, Quick Attack, and Focus Energy by level 10. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. And at level 13, we get access to the move Wing Attack, which is just an upgraded Peck, because it does more damage. And we move on to this fight, which I usually show for the weaker Pokemon. And if Taillow wasn't so quick, this would definitely be an issue, because the Abra could use Thunder Punch or Ice Punch on it. But because it outspeeds, it doesn't really worry about any of his Pokemon. I'm able to take down both his Abra and Shroomish, and then all that's left is the Horsey, which is actually able to survive one, but not strong enough to take me down, and I beat him. Okay, well, time to convince the rambling of this section. If you are enjoying this video so far, consider liking, and if you have any Pokemon suggestions, put them down below. I'll be sure to do them eventually. And I'd just like to say, thank you for all the support on these videos. And I guess that's just about it for the rambling, so let's get on with it. So Taillow easily dispatches this trainer. A few wing attacks. Seedot's about the only threat that he has. Another Absorb doing very little. Wing attacks not able to take down the Seedot in a single hit, and Shadow Wave does about half my health. So a crit probably could have taken me down, but it doesn't get it. I finish it off. And I've finished off the Oddish and win this fight pretty easily. Okay, well, inside the building, I run into another Taillow. Hello, other Taillow. Bye, other Taillow. And at level 22, it evolves into Swellow, which is going to be a much-needed upgrade, because even though Taillow isn't that bad, it could definitely be a little stronger and a little more tanky, so let's go over Swellow's stats. It has 60 HP, 85 attack, 60 defense, 50 special attack, 50 special defense, and 125 speed. So, while not being the strongest attacker, it does have the Guts ability, so it might be able to make up that difference. And 125 base speeds means that I probably won't be outsped by anything throughout the game. However, those defensive stats are still very low, so hopefully that doesn't become a problem later. And at level 28, Swellow learns the move Endeavor, which brings the opponent's HP down to your HP, which could be handy for a few encounters. However, it is a little funny on how it does it sometimes, and that's because it can actually be resisted. But it's still, for the moment, it's a decent move, and we move on to Lovrina, who leads with a Beautifly and a Love Disc. Wing attack takes down the Love Disc in a single hit, then out comes Roselia. Beautifly uses Gust, getting a crit, but not doing too much damage. Another wing attack takes down Roselia, and then out comes her Shadow Delcatty. Beautifly swaps over to Thief for some reason. I go for wing attack, doing over half to Delcatty, and it uses Shadow Rush, taking me down to half. Thief doesn't do much, and I finish off the Delcatty with a crit, but I didn't need it. And then one last Gust from the Beautifly before I take it down. And Lovrina has been defeated on the first attempt. We move on to the obligatory Mirror B. Hello, Mirror B, how are you doing today? Well, good to hear it. Moving on to the Realgam Tower, I go ahead and pick up my 2 favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect. And I'm going to go ahead and teach Hidden Power right away, because at the moment I have no type coverage whatsoever other than normal and flying. and unfortunately our hidden power doesn't help because it is also flying. So, moving on, we get Aerial Ace, which is just a better wing attack, it doesn't miss. And I also catch the Spearow here because it has the Sharp Beak item, which raises all flying type moves by 10%. And as usual, I go to the tutor lady to go pick up the move Body Slam. Oh, Swellow can't actually use Body Slam. Oops. Anyway, we move on to Snaddle, who leads with a Lantern and a Quagsire, and unfortunately I can't take it out with a single Aerial Ace. So we move on to Mount Battle to go do a bit of training. I run into another Taillow. Hello, other Taillow. And the whole reason for this is for one specific move, and that is Facade. Now Facade's another kind of funny move that doubles in power if you are statused, which makes it pair well with Guts. And it's the best normal type move I can get that doesn't deal damage to myself. So we go back to the Snaddle fight, now at a higher level and with Facade, and I take down the Lantern. And as you can see, I'm actually burned for this fight. Rock Tomb hits, not really doing that much damage. I go for another Facade, which actually takes down Lunatone in a single hit. Then out comes Castform. I go for another Facade to take it down. And then out comes his final Pokemon, Metang. And as you can see, the problem with this strategy is that I'm always taking a ton of damage. So I can run into bad situations like this, where I survive by 1 HP. But anyway, I beat Snaddle, and I go ahead and teach the move Protect soon after, and move on to Gonzap. Now he leads with an Electrode and a Nuzleaf, and the Nuzleaf's always going to go for Fake Out on the first turn, so I want to use Protect to avoid that. I go for Facade to take down the Electrode, and had I gotten paralyzed, it probably would have been fine. Aerial Ace takes down the Vileplume. Out comes Whiscash. I go for a Facade to take it down, but it's not quite a one-shot. Hyper Beams really aren't doing that much damage. Rock Tomb isn't really going to contribute anything. And a Facade takes it down, and then all that's left is Skarmory, which I don't really have anything to hit it effectively. So I'm just going to have to use Facade or Aerial Ace into it. But I take down the Nuzleaf first, and it's just going for Hyper Beam as well, meaning that I'll have ample opportunity to continue doing this. It looks to be about a 3-shot, another Hyper Beam, and one more Facade, takes it down, and we make Gonzap. Okay, well, we move right along into Gorgon, who leads with a Lairon and a Celio, and as you can see, I came into this battle poisoned to do as much damage as I could. So I take down the Celio on the first turn, and then I take down the Slowking on the next turn, and then out comes Ursaring, so I'm able to take it down as well. And then out comes his Primeape, which is his first Shadow Pokemon. It could definitely do a lot of damage, but it definitely can't outspeed. So I take it down. And then his final Pokemon, Hypno, comes out. And Lairon is really just not missing these Iron Tails. So there's a good chance I could lose this first attempt just because of that. And it goes for takedown. Okay, well, with that and a few more attempts, I decided to go ahead and teach Mimic, because I can just copy a water type move from the Slowking and use that to take it down. This was a terrible idea, however we will get to that soon. Anyway, for now, we go into the battle after just a few more attempts. And as you can see, I'm not poisoned or statused at all, and that's because at the time I couldn't find a reliable poison setter. And on top of that, I'm not sure if Swallow's really got the bulk to be using it effectively. So in this attempt, I copy the Water Pulse that the Slowking uses. I go for Protect here. And I go ahead and take down the Slowking because even though I copied it for the Lairon, it's not nearly as big a threat because it's only got a 70% accurate move. So I go for another Protect. Heal up what I can, go for Facade to take down the Ursaring. And then out comes Primeape. And now I'm going to actually take down the Lairon because it got a defense drop. So I go for Water Pulse, and this is a guaranteed one-shot even with my really low special attack. And then out comes the Hypno. And even though these two have the potential to do a lot of damage, they really don't. I go for Aerial Ace to take down the Primeape. and then Hypno uses Shadow Storm, which only does about half of what I had remaining. So I go for a Protect here just in case it gets a crit. But I get a crit and take it down. Okay, well with that, we're doing fairly well going into the final area of the game. So hopefully it'll keep up this momentum and we can finish with a pretty decent time. So I move on to the rematch against Lavrina. She leads with a Gardevoir and a Gorbis. I go for Facade into the Gardevoir to take it down in a single hit. Go for Protect here. And the Gorbis is going to keep using Ice Beams, but I need to focus the Roselia so I don't actually get hit with Attract, because this is actually the second attempt. The first attempt I just couldn't move due to Attract luck. So I decided this time to just not worry about it and take down all the Pokemon that could do that type of stuff. So with both of the males gone and the Shadow Panic far-fetched, okay, that was a lucky defrost. I'm actually able to move on. I use Facade to take down the Gorbis now, and then all that's left is the Altaria, which really isn't doing that much damage to me, so a couple of Facades should be able to take it down. And I beat Lavrina on the second attempt pretty easily. Okay, well moving on, I go back to the Tutor Lady to just go ahead and teach my last move, which is going to be Double Edge. And that's because Double Edge is a really strong move that, even though I take damage, is going to be able to guarantee some one-shots. So I move on to Snaddle at the top of the hill, and I'm able to take down the Quagsire in a single hit. Then out comes the Scizor. I go for Protect here just to heal up what I can, and I go for Aerial Ace into it, which isn't quite a one-shot, even if it is neutral to it. And Matang is just going to keep using Ice Punches. Now I am inviting a Freeze. However, it's not doing that much damage, so I don't really see it as that big of a threat. Anyway, Solrock comes out, and this thing always sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, which is why I definitely shouldn't have used Protect here, because now I can't heal it all anymore. But so I go for Double Edge into it, and as it turns out, it didn't matter anyway, because it would have set up Shadow Sky, because I don't one-shot it. So anyway, the Fruity Pebbles come down, doing damage to all. I go for one last Protect in vain, because I can't actually heal anymore. And I use my remaining power to take down the Solrock and get a little bit of XP before I go down. Okay, well, second attempt. Clearly just a mistake on my part. I go for Facade to take down the Quagsire, but as it turns out, Quagsire is actually a range to be taken down. And I forgot that because I'm a flying type, it's not actually going to use Mudshot on me. So I quickly pivot to start taking down the Matang. And unfortunately, a Double Edge isn't enough to take it down in a single hit. I'm actually taking it down very low. I go for a Protect here to heal up over half, and then Facade takes down the Matang. Out comes Scizor, and the Waterfall, which seems to be doing just about as much health as I heal, so it's really not a threat. I go for Aerial Ace to take Scizor down very low. Steel Wing comes out, not really doing that much damage either. But I decide to go for the Protect here anyway, just to heal up what I can. Aerial Ace to finish it off, and then out comes Solrock once again. Now unfortunately I don't quite level up, where I think there was a small chance I could have been able to take it down in a single hit. But I get a crit anyway and finish it off. Okay, well that was really lucky. So there's no Shadow Sky. I take this time to Protect again, and I go for Facade to hopefully finish off the Castform, which I do. And then all that's left is the Shadow Starmie, which I'm almost certain I actually outspeed. So I go for one last Protect, just to heal up a bit. Go for Double Edge to take it down, which I do. Waterfall isn't strong enough to take me down. And Facade finishes off the Quagsire. So that's the second attempt. We move on to Ardos, which has another Swellow. Hello, other Swellow. I go for Facade to take down the Alakazam. Out comes Kingdra. Swellow sets up Shadow Sky, which is a little unfortunate, but I go for Protect here to stall it out. And it actually goes for Shadow Half, which guarantees that I one-shot the Kingdra now. So I go for Facade to take it down. And then out comes Heracross. And because I know that the Swellow can attack again, there's a chance that it'll use Shadow Half, which it does. Okay, well Heracross is definitely going to be able to be taken down by a single Aerial Ace now, even if it wasn't 4 times weak to it anyway. And then out comes Electabuzz. And because the Shadow Sky just ended, the Swellow is going to set up Shadow Sky again. So I don't need to worry about it this turn. Out comes Shadow Snorlax. And yep, it sets up Shadow Sky. And then I go for a Facade into the Snorlax, doing well over half. Maybe a Double Edge would have been better, because it might have been able to one-shot, but if it hadn't, I would have lost. The Fruity Pebbles rain down. I finish off the Snorlax, and then all that's left is the Swellow, who will spam Shadow Mist to lower my evasiveness so that the Shadow Snorlax can actually hit its attacks. And one last Double Edge finishes it off. So that was the first attempt. And now we move on to Gore again. I go for Facade to take down the Ursaring right off the bat. Out comes Aggron. Ice Beam does quite a bit of damage to me. I go for Protect here to heal what I can. I go for a Double Edge to take down the Slowking. Out comes Walrein. Iron Tail hits, doing a bit of damage. I go for Protect. Another Ice Beam, another Iron Tail. Double Edge takes down the Walrein in a single hit. And then out comes Poliwrath, his first Shadow Pokemon. It always sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, so it's not really an immediate threat. I go for Aerial Ace to take it down. And then out comes Mr. Mime. And Aggron crits an Iron Tail and takes me down. Okay, well how much damage would I actually do to Aggron if I were to hit it? That is very little. Okay, well let me try going into this battle paralyzed. I'll try using Facade now, and that's still a 3-shot. And I'm paralyzed, so I'm slower than the Ursaring and lose. Okay, well, there could be potential here, but unfortunately there's not many Pokemon that actually paralyze around anymore. So I decide to do something a little gimmicky, and that is teach Endeavor once again. And even though Endeavor is actually resisted 4 times by Aggron, it still means that if I can get the perfect luck, I can take it down by just lowering its health down to mine. So after many attempts, 25 to be specific, I come onto this battle. And basically the plan is to try and survive till Aggron is the last Pokemon, which is already pretty difficult because I can have my defense lowered or get crit. And then at the end of the fight, I just need to use Endeavor, have him miss, and then I finish him off with a Double Edge. The plan makes sense, pretty easy, but for some reason I just couldn't get that luck. And the thing is if I had just held off on teaching Mimic way earlier, I probably could have used Ice Beam to actually take it down, but I'm having to use Endeavor and a decent amount of luck to finish it off. But I eventually get it, and I beat Gorgon on the 25th attempt. Okay, well I'm not too proud of that one. But we move on to Eldis, and I go for Facade to take down the Manectric. I luckily didn't get paralyzed there. Out comes Salamence. I go for Protect, and it uses Shadow Rush. I go for Facade to see how much it's going to do, which to my surprise it actually does over half. So it's going to be a 2-shot. I go for another Protect. And I'm always going to go for a Protect every other turn, that way the Ninjask isn't doing extra damage to me. So Salamence goes down, out comes Flygon. Now I could just use Double Edge on it, and maybe it'll take it down, but it's not worth risking it, so I go for Facade. And yeah, I probably could have been able to do it, but it doesn't really do any damage to me either, so I go for another Protect here, and then finish it off with Facade. And then out comes a Shadow Marowak. Now this thing's actually holding the Thick Club item, doubling its attack stat, so it has the potential to do a ton of damage to me. I go for Double Edge, and it finishes it off in a single hit. Okay, that's really good. Out comes Lapras. Now this thing always sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, so I actually do need to attack it. And Double Edge is doing over half. Shadow Sky comes out, Fruity Pebbles rain down, and I go for Facade to take it down. And then all that's left is the Ninjask, which definitely can't survive anything. So I go for Double Edge and take it down. Well, that was a pretty easy fight. We move on to the big box legendary Shalalugia. I go for Facade, which isn't quite doing half, I don't think. So I go for a Protect here, just to heal up what I can before the final battle, and use Double Edge to finish it off. And we move on to Gorgon. He leads with a Shadow, Moltres, and Rhydon. I go for Double Edge, and it does take down the Moltres in a single hit, which is good. Out comes Executor. Shadow Wind hits, taking me down very low. And to check how much Double Edge is going to do to Executor, I take it down as well as myself. And after using all my rare candies and leveling up quite a bit, at level 94 I'm actually able to take down the Moltres in a single hit. So, with that, we now have an actual game plan with Facade. Unfortunately, it is a pretty bad range to hit, so I do have to get lucky on the first turn. However, that is all this battle is, and always will be. Luck. So I go for Double Edge to finish off the Rhydon on this turn. Out comes Tauros. It lowers my attack, which is really unfortunate. I go for Double Edge to take it down. And then out comes the Shadow Articuno. Shadow Wind misses. I go for another Protect here. Shadow Chill. And Double Edge is also a range to miss. Luckily I get it, and Articuno goes down. And then all that's left is the Shadow Zapdos, which I'm going to heal up as much as I can for, because it does a bit of damage. I go for Double Edge to take it down. I'm down to 91 HP. Shadow Wind hits, taking me down to 31. But Facade is a one-shot even at full health, so I take him down and beat him on the 22nd attempt. Yeah, I did have to rely on a lot of Executor or Rhydon luck during that battle to actually beat it, but with that being said, how did Swellow do? Well, it beat the game at 14 hours, 10 minutes, and 54 seconds at level 94-95, and lost 77 times. So yeah, that's not great. And even though it has the amazing Guts ability, because it's so frail, it can't actually make use of it most of the time. And I did try to use it as much as I could, but for most battles it just didn't seem applicable. And on top of that, it didn't really get any good move coverage. Like, normal and flying is okay, but you can't hit rock or steel types whatsoever. And unfortunately, they put a pretty strong one in your path that's a mandatory fight. So unfortunately, despite being pretty good early on, Swellow falls off hard in the late game and finds itself in the C tier. Now the thing is I think even if I had taught Mimic later on in the game, there's a good chance I would have had to do all that grinding anyway to actually get to level 94. And Gorgon is the easiest fight to rematch in the entire game. It's like 10 steps. So maybe my mess up was actually a good thing? Yeah, probably not, but with that being said, I think unfortunately Swellow isn't that great of a Pokemon in this game in particular. It's probably great in singles because you only have to deal with a one-on-one threat, but unfortunately doubles leaves you wide open to the other Pokemon. So being this frail with an ability that makes you even more frail definitely didn't help. So with that being said, if you did enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing, and put Pokemon suggestions down below. Bye.